Julian Assange deserves 100% freedom. He deserves an award, a Nobel Peace Prize. Even the Nobel Peace Prize is kind of just stupid. Because Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize, and he's a war criminal and evil. He got a Nobel Peace Prize. And Trump has even said, no, I'm never going to say I want it, but I don't want it. I want world peace. I want the world to win. I want the world to be victorious. Like his inauguration speech, I want to unlock the mysteries of space. I want to free the world from the miseries of disease, harness the energies and technologies of the future. And that's what he's going to do. So here, get push notifications from Sputnik. Nope. Nope, I do not want push notifications from Sputnik. But this is big news. Ecuador is planning on handing over Assange to the UK or the US. Preferably, I would say, the US than the UK. The UK seems a little bit crazy, seems a little bit wild, seems a little bit rogue. I think Trump, on the other hand, owes Julian Assange at least the basic liberties of being a person, not being trapped in an embassy, not being a prisoner. He should receive a complete pardon as a result of his publication and his efforts to exposing war crimes of the Republican Party and the threats of democracy of the Democratic Party. He's not partisan. He doesn't pick one side and then hurt the other side. He isn't interfering with our elections. He isn't interfering with anything except for the people who are committing egregious war crimes against the world. He is a hero. No other way to put it. And so, nothing short of complete freedom and complete pardon for Julian Assange is necessary. What he's done has been incredible. With the Podesta emails breaking Pizzagate out into the open, totally selfless. Patriots are selfless. He's a world patriot. Julian Assange is a world patriot. And I'm curious of how much Julian Assange knows about the whole child sex trafficking thing, but needed to act as the bridge between the mainstream media and the actual conspiracy. The amazing thing is, the Podesta emails were just light enough in their flavoring to taste the stench coming off from John Podesta. Just carefully calculated. And it did the trick. Because the mainstream media covered it, they talked about it, it really implicated a lot of things. It wasn't like something they could just say, nope, that's not real, that's a doctored video, that's a doctored this, that's a doctored that. Julian Assange deserves 100% freedom. He deserves an award, a Nobel Peace Prize. Even the Nobel Peace Prize is kind of just stupid. Because Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize, and he's a war criminal and evil. He got a Nobel Peace Prize. And Trump has even said, no, I'm never going to say I want it, but I don't want it. I want world peace. I want the world to win. I want the world to be victorious. Like his inauguration speech, I want to unlock the mysteries of space. I want to free the world from the miseries of disease, harness the energies and technologies of the future. And that's what he's going to do. And that's what he's doing. The next thing that I wanted to kind of point out for everyone here is the fact that I said this was going to be a half-hour show, and it's already been an hour. So, I told you I suck at it. So thank you, Michael, for that super chat. Keep up the good work. The truth does not take sides, and I pray those alluding to the QAnon to put the truth ahead of their egos. Yes, I completely agree with you, Michael. Thank you. Yeah. So, this is going to be an interesting time. An interesting time because we are bringing the fight into the mainstream world. People are starting to get billboards. People are starting to get bumper stickers. I mean, you know, I'm going to plug mine because they're something that I have available for you right now that you can take action on right now that is helping just an individual regular patriot. Okay? It's not helping any major corporation. It's not helping a $100 million operation. But the message is what's important. Great Awakening. What is QAnon? The message is what's important. You have Holly Weird. Pizzagate is real. The message is what's important. You notice there's no branding on here? I don't have any logo. I don't have anything on here. It's just totally unlabeled. Okay? It's not about me. Nothing about this is about me. Okay? No logos, nothing. And of course, for humanity, you have to love humanity. You have to love being a human. You have to love being on Earth. You know, Earth is very special. It's a very special place because this pale blue dot on it, everyone who has ever existed, who you will ever know, has lived on that speck of dust. And of course, if you want laptop stickers, we have The Great Awakening. We have, this one's actually branded, it's the show logo, and Freethinker. So those are available on michaeltrimstore.com, and I encourage, if you haven't gotten one, to get one. The bumper stickers are $4.95 a piece, and then the smaller stickers are, I think, $3.22 or $3.33 a piece, somewhere in that ballpark. So if you put an order in, I'll get them shipped out early tomorrow. But with that being said, I want to thank everyone for being on this live stream, on this broadcast, for sharing these links out, for getting the word out that this broadcast was going on. And please, let me know what you think of my analysis, of the recent videos that I've been doing, of the new intro that I'm doing. And also, if you have questions that you want me to address tomorrow relating to Stargate, let me know in the comments below. And before I actually do the episode, I will look at those specific pieces and try to make sure I address them in the broadcast. But I don't think it's going to be something that I can finish tomorrow, because there are 10 seasons of Stargate. I can get started with it. I can help you understand it. But to do the full series analysis, it's a lot of work. There's a lot of content. There's a lot of disclosure in it. So with that being said, make sure to have a great night and take care, everyone. Bye.
Julian Assange is reportedly facing new limitations that include bans on phone calls and even visitors. According to WikiLeaks, the whistleblowing group he co-founded, the restrictions come as his fate is being negotiated by UK and Ecuadorian authorities.
His internet access is still blocked. We have had talks. We're interested in solving this issue. Assange is aware that Ecuador is exhausting all efforts by diplomatic means.
In March, Assange's internet use was restricted after he tweeted criticism of the UK's response to the poisoning of Sergei and Yulia Skripal. It's been almost 6 years since WikiLeaks founder had to seek asylum in the Ecuadorian embassy in London. During this time, Assange was visited by many friends, celebrity guests and media. But it looks like now he doesn't have that option on the table. Human rights activist Peter Tatchell says that new restrictions make life worse than in prison.
Ecuador granted Julian Assange political asylum. It granted him a safe haven in its London embassy, and it granted him citizenship with all the rights that go with citizenship. Yet those rights have now been unilaterally abrogated by the Ecuadorian government. Julian Assange is effectively being held incommunicado. He can't communicate with the outside world, and the outside world cannot communicate with him. That is a more draconian restriction than even terrorists or rapists experience in prison. They do have a right to communicate, and Julian Assange does not. So this is a very, very backward step, which goes quite clearly against Ecuador's own guarantees of human rights and free expression.
Greetings, citizens of the world. Julian Assange is in grave danger. Ecuador's foreign minister has confirmed that the Ecuadorian government are preparing to hand Assange over to American authorities. On March 28, under pressure from the UK and US governments, Ecuador imposed an unusually harsh ban on Assange from having any internet or phone contact with the outside world. They also blocked visits from friends and supporters. For the last 45 days, nobody has heard from him. Ecuadorian Foreign Minister Maria Fernanda Espinosa stated in a Spanish-language interview on Wednesday that her government and Britain have the intention and the interest that this be resolved. Moves were underway, she said, to reach a definite agreement on Assange. If Assange falls into the hands of the British state, he faces being turned over to the U.S. Last year, U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions stated that putting Assange on trial for espionage was a priority. CIA Director Mike Pompeo, now Secretary of State, asserted that WikiLeaks was a non-state hostile intelligence service. In 2010, WikiLeaks courageously published information leaked by then-Private Broadly, now Chelsea Manning, that exposed war crimes committed by American forces in Iraq and Afghanistan. WikiLeaks also published, in partnership with some of the world's major newspapers, tens of thousands of secret diplomatic cables, exposing the daily anti-democratic intrigues of U.S. imperialism and numerous other governments. For that, Assange was relentlessly persecuted by the Obama administration. By November 2010, it had convened a secret grand jury and had a warrant issued for his arrest on charges of espionage, charges that can carry the death sentence. The then Labour Party government in Australia, headed by Prime Minister Julian Assange, threw Assange, an Australian citizen, to the wolves. It refused to provide him any defence and declared it would work with the US to have him detained and put on trial. On June 19, 2012, under conditions in which he faced extradition to Sweden to answer questions over fabricated allegations of sexual assault, and the prospect of rendition to the United States, Assange sought asylum in the Ecuador's embassy in London. Since that time, for nearly 6 years, he has been largely confined to a small room with no direct sunlight. He has been prevented from leaving, even to obtain medical treatment, by the British government's insistence it will arrest him for breaching bail as soon as he sets foot outside the embassy. Now, for 6 weeks and 3 days, he has been denied even the right to communicate. Jennifer Robinson, the British-based Australian lawyer who has represented Assange since 2010, told the London Times in an interview this month, his health situation is terrible. He has had a problem with his shoulder for a very long time. It requires an MRI, magnetic resonance imaging scan, which cannot be done within the embassy. He's got dental issues. And then there's the long-term impact of not being outside, his visual impairment. He won't be able to see further than from here to the end of this hallway. The effort to haul Assange before a U.S. court is inseparable from the broader campaign underway by the American state and allied governments to impose sweeping censorship on the Internet. Lurid allegations of Russian meddling in the 2016 U.S. election and denunciations of fake news have been used to demand that Google, Facebook and other conglomerates block users from accessing websites that publish critical commentary and exposures of the ruling class and its agencies, including WikiLeaks and the World Socialist website. WikiLeaks has been absurdly denounced as pro-Russia because it published leaks from the U.S. Democratic Party National Committee that revealed the anti-democratic intrigues the party's leaders carried out to undermine the campaign of Bernie Sanders in the 2016 presidential primary elections. It also published leaked speeches of presidential candidate Hillary Clinton that further exposed her intimate relations with Wall Street banks and companies. As part of the justification for Internet censorship, U.S. intelligence agencies allege, without any evidence, that the information was hacked by Russian operatives and supplied to WikiLeaks to undermine Clinton and assist Trump, whom Moscow purportedly considered the lesser evil. In response to the hysterical allegations, WikiLeaks broke its own tradition of not commenting on its sources. It publicly denied that Russia was the source of the leaks. That has not prevented the campaign from continuing, with Assange even being labeled the Kremlin's useful idiot in pro-democratic party circles. WikiLeaks is blamed for Clinton's defeat, not the reality that tens of millions of American workers were repulsed by her right-wing, pro-war campaign and refused to vote for her. Under conditions in which the Ecuadorian government has capitulated to great power pressure and is collaborating with British and U.S. agencies to break Julian Assange, there is an almost universal and reprehensible silence on the part of dozens of organizations and hundreds of individuals who once claimed to defend him and WikiLeaks. The United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention, which in February 2016 condemned Assange's persecution as a form of arbitrary detention and called for his release, has issued no statement on his current situation. In Britain, the Labour Party and its leader Jeremy Corbyn have said nothing on the actions by Ecuador. Nor have they opposed the determination of the Conservative government to arrest Assange if he leaves the embassy. In Australia, the current Liberal National Government and Labour leadership are just as complicit. The Greens, which claimed to oppose the persecution of Assange, have not made any statement in Parliament or issued a press release, let alone called for public protests. Hundreds of editors, journalists, academics, artists and lawyers across the country who publicly defended WikiLeaks in 2010 and 2011 are now mute. A parallel situation prevails across Europe and in the U.S. The so-called parties of the left and the trade unions are all tacitly endorsing the vicious drive against Assange. Around the world, the Stalinist and Pabloite pseudo-left organizations, anxious not to disrupt their sordid relations with the parties of the political establishment and the trade union apparatuses, are likewise silent. The World Socialist website and the International Committee of the Fourth International unconditionally defend Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. If the ruling elite can haul him before a court, it will hold him up as an example of what happens to those who speak out against social inequality, militarism, war and police state measures. His prosecution would be used to try to intimidate and silence all dissent. If Assange is imprisoned or worse, and WikiLeaks shut down, it will be a serious blow to the democratic rights of the entire international working class. Workers and young people should join with the WSWS and ICFI in demanding and fighting for the immediate freedom of Julian Assange.